All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Liverpool Reaction, an American LFC podcast. I am Salim, and I'm joined by my co-host, Coach Ralph. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing just great, Salim. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm very happy that we got our revenge against Tottenham over the weekend, and 4-2 scoreline, but still lots to talk about.
There's always something to talk about, isn't there? So this week is absolutely no exception.
Yeah, the game was interesting. It was kind of back and forth for the first 10, 15 minutes, and then Salah scores. Hallelujah, he's back on the score sheet, back scoring goals. And then the Gengham press of Klopp really took over the game.
It did. A lot has to do with Tottenham. They really do not change the way that they want to play, even if they're struggling with it. So I don't know whether we should admire that or whether we should say, well, it's not working, so try something different for a while and maybe go back to it a bit later in the game. But they persisted in trying to build up and they got caught.
Yeah, and there was several really good performances from our team, but I also kind of want to say that Tottenham's left back was atrocious. Emerson Royale, I was going over the goals, and there was 3 of the 4 goals where he was responsible for. And I don't mean to, be negative on another team, but that along with their ideas of how to play, I think really played into our hands really well.
It did on the day, and I think Postecoglou has a lot to offer as a manager, but I think, as I kind of hinted earlier, sometimes you just got to change things because it's not working. And I think listening to various people here and there and Tottenham fans and what have you, I think that frustrates them a little bit, and I can understand why.
Yeah, the encouraging part from that standpoint is that it's attacking football. It's not park the bus football.
Oh yeah.
So they've had many really good performances throughout the year, and it's his first year in charge. And I think, generally speaking, Tottenham fans can be excited about the future. And the fact that Levy's name hasn't been brought up at all this year about, what are they going to do with the team? What are they going to do with the manager? I think is encouraging.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The interesting part of this game also was how Harvey Elliott just shined. He shined so bright in this game. He was all over the place. He was pressing. He had a goal and an assist, and what a goal he had. He was marvelous. I mean, we kind of talk about man of the match. I think we can get that out of the way right now. I mean, it was clearly Harvey Elliott.
Yeah. He's been very consistent this year, used primarily from the bench as an impact sub, but I think he's shown as well that, the playing the 90 minutes is well within his ability range.
Yeah, and interesting how Darwin, again, didn't get the start, and Szoboszlai also didn't get the start. But it seems to me that Gakpo and Elliott are keeping them out of the team because of their performances. Gakpo had a goal and an assist as well and played very well.
Yeah, he certainly hit a bit of form of late, and I think people forget that he was an impact player at the last World Cup, so he has ability. I think the issue has been, where does he fit into the Liverpool plan? And under Klopp, I think the way that things have evolved, he's probably been 5th choice. I mean, he's had his moments, thinking back primarily to last season, that 7-0 win over Manchester United, when he scored a couple of cracking goals in that game. Mm-hmm. But he's been 5th choice. Recently, I think some of the other guys who are in contention for that position have lost form. Jota's not always been present, and he's used the opportunity to show what he can do.
Yeah, he was really really impactful, and Salah a goal and 2 assists. I mean, that's really what we expect from our star player. He really played well. He was all over the place. I was really, really happy with his performance. But also overall, the team, I would say minus the last 20 minutes when they kind of, I think, let up a little bit and the defense kind of reverted back to what they have been doing in the last 3-4 games. I would say overall pretty good performance. It was good to see them be able to revenge the game, because the game against Tottenham was, I think they won 1-0, but we were down to 9 men, and I mean, it was the last second goal, and they celebrated like it was, they won the premiership, and I remember being so frustrated. I remember talking to a lot of people kind of circling this game. We need to get them back for this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it was a controversial game, and an unfortunate last-minute winner from a Liverpool perspective. But anyway, I mean, like, that's all history now, and I think it was a good performance against Tottenham, against a team. I think any team that plays against Liverpool and plays an open game, they can expect a hard time, and that's the way it proved on Sunday.
Yeah, the stadium was loud, and they were very into the game. And once the press started going, I mean, literally you could feel the energy just keep building after, another tackle, or Kwanzaa jumping in front of a ball they're trying to pass out, or Van Dijk heading a ball back to a midfielder when they're trying to get out. It was really exciting. I had the game on pretty loud, and just hearing the crowd was really incredible.
Well, I think obviously it's building up to the final home game against Wolves, when it'll be the last for Jurgen Klopp. And whilst it hasn't quite panned out as everybody had hoped, I think it's going to be a very emotional time. And as I say, everything's building towards that.
Yeah, it was great to see him smile too. It seems like he hasn't smiled in quite some time. It was when they panned over to the sideline, and he was smiling big, and he really enjoyed the game. They made an interesting comment on the telecast that they were saying that if he gets a yellow card at Aston Villa, that he'd miss the final game.
Right.
I mean, come on, that would be a travesty. They should just say, "Yeah, do what you want. you're fine for the last game."
Yeah, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully it doesn't come down to that.
Yeah, for sure. How about Robertson getting on the score sheet for the second time in 2 games?
Well, Andy Robertson, I think certainly in my lifetime, I would rate him the top left back that Liverpool have ever had. I mean, he's a great fullback. He's not noted for his goals. Liverpool have had fullbacks prior to him in my time, like Stevie Nicol, Phil Neal, Chris Lawler, who from the fullback position scored goals. So that maybe hasn't been his forte, but he's certainly been a creator. So he gets into positions to score, and the last 2 weeks he's taken advantage of it.
Yeah, it was a really nice passage of play too, because Trent crossed one over to Robertson, so it cleared like everybody in the box, and it was at the far post about maybe, I don't know, 12 yards out. And instead of shooting it, which I thought he was going to, he just passed it to Salah, who got a quick shot on goal and just kept running towards the goal and just tapped it in. It was really, really nice.
Yeah. As I say, he's not noted for scoring goals, but all of a sudden he's hit a streak. So who knows? Maybe against Aston Villa he'll make it a hat trick, because he did score a very vital goal there, if you recall the season that Liverpool won the league.
Yes, was that the 2-1 game where we came
It was
back
the
late.
2-1 game,
Yeah.
where Liverpool scored the two in the last few minutes.
That's right. Yeah. I believe Sadio Mane had a header in that game to put us ahead, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I do remember.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
How,
we'll see. We'll see if he can get a hat trick, as it were.
so let's talk a little bit more about Elliott's performance. What were some things that kind of stood out to you? Because I want to read you a stat that I heard on another podcast, which was really, really impressive. So, as far as key passes and progressive passes, he is at the top of all 5 of the major European leagues, tied with Florian Wirtz, who is Bayer Leverkusen's star player.
Uh-huh.
I mean, wow.
Yeah. Well, I feel sorry for Elliott because somehow he seems to get overlooked, and it's a little bit by the fans. I think there's been a couple of people that are saying that his quality is sufficient that he might get looked at for the national team. And yeah, I mean, it's a stat that I've not heard, but he's a very positive player, isn't he? He's very positive. He comes on, great first touch, very comfortable on the ball, and so it's interesting to hear that. And yeah. I mean, he seems to be surely and slowly but surely making an impact.
Yeah. The lineup, obviously, with Gakpo over Nunez and Elliott over Szoboszlai, I was watching the game, and immediately I kind of saw a little change in formation. I'm not sure if I caught this correctly, though, but I wanted your take on this. Was McAllister and Endo playing a double pivot? Because you didn't see McAllister really kind of pushing forward like he normally does if he's not the number 6.
Yeah. So there could be reasons for that. Maybe they're playing him deeper, knowing that Tottenham come on to you, that leaves space. And so therefore playing him a little bit deeper gives him license to distribute because he has great vision, as we all know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that could be a factor, perhaps in a deeper role for him.
Yeah. The let's see here, the 50th minute goal, which was Emerson Royale had the ball and Salah was pressing him, and Elliott just came flying out of nowhere and nicked the ball off him, looked up, cut it back, crossed the ball, and a beautiful header from Gakpo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was like that one pass, that, I don't know, 10, 15 seconds was just like classic Liverpool to me. That reminded me of, with Sadio and Salah and Firmino, like that kind of feeling.
Right. That era, yeah.
Yeah. And then the 59th minute, Elliott curls one. I mean, we talked about it just briefly, but I mean, what a shot. Top corner, had some pace on it, had some curl. I mean, we know he can do that. We've seen him score goals, but that one was just beautiful. And the way Salah just kind of left it for him, and he didn't hit it right away. He took a touch to the middle. It was about, 20, 22 yards out. Top corner, just beautiful goal. I mean, my jaw dropped. I thought it was fantastic.
Right. Well, I was watching Match of the Day on Sunday over in England, and the goal of the month for last month, this is in the Premier League, was the McAllister drive against Sheffield United. And I think Harvey Elliott has a great chance to kind of replicate that with goal of the month for May, because it was right in the top corner there. Brilliant goal.
Yeah. With that, the game kind of started winding down, and in the 73rd minute, Richarlison, who came on a little bit before that, started causing problems. It looked like he was playing off the deepest man. and he was causing issues. So kudos to him. I think his cameo appearance, he played very well, and the goal was well deserved. And then just to make things a little bit nervy, but I don't think really any of us felt that they were coming back from the 4-0 even after Son scores in the 83rd minute.
Yeah, it's hard to judge it in these games because so many times what'll happen is a team gets up, they're winning comfortably, and then to some degree there's not that quite the same intensity, concentration, and I think that this certainly happened on this occasion. And the downside of that, was Richarlison comes on. To some degree, it's maybe a surprise he's not starting, and he has a point to prove.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he's a very good player. I mean, he's shown that in the Premier League previously with neighbours Everton, and I mean, he plays a lot for his national team in Brazil, and I think Brazil have a lot of choices in terms of strikers. So if he's getting a game, he's up there. He's up there in terms of his ability.
Yeah, you're right. I was surprised he didn't start. I was surprised Maddison didn't start either. I think Maddison, kind of like McAllister, has vision and can distribute the ball really well. And when he came on, also, he started causing problems. But like you said, it's probably a combination of us kind of trying to see the game out and them trying to chase the game. So probably a combination of the both.
Oh, yeah. I think that's for sure. And as I say, once you get ahead comfortably, like the 4 goals to the good, there's not long left. And just that little edge isn't there anymore. So Tottenham, Tottenham have good players. They play in a positive way. And I guess that was the factor in this particular situation.
Any other thoughts on the game? Any other things that you picked up with your eye as a coach, or anything that stood out other than that?
Not really. It was just good to see Liverpool. I mean, early on in the game, they were starting to create chances, and it felt for a little bit until the Salah goal that are we going to be having the same kind of situation again, where I think there was a couple of good saves. I think they hit the bar. There was one cleared off the line. Are they not taking the chances again? Because that has been the well, it's not just a feeling; it's been the facts through these past few games, and so I think overall, I think Liverpool fans like myself and yourself have the relief that okay, we got some goals. We got some really good goals. We got some good team goals. And that's positive coming into the last couple of games of the season.
Yeah, to be fair to Salah, I think he was trying to cross that ball that nicked off the crossbar.
Yeah.
But the save Romero had off of Elliott after the goalie made a great save on Salah was, I mean, yeah, no. It's funny. You said, was it going to feel like the same old thing? I didn't have that feeling because I liked the way we were playing, and that was kind of more important to me at that moment in time. But it also could be I just I kind of put it in the back burner after Salah's goal. So you make a good point there. With next week at Aston Villa, where they play very well at home, they've beaten pretty much everybody there, including Manchester City. A good, tough team, a coach that has set them up very well, probably going to finish 4th. What are your thoughts on that game?
Well, it's not ironclad that they're going to finish 4th, so I think that Liverpool can expect a tough game because Villa have something to play for.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to be an interesting game. And one that could possibly go either way.
Yeah, they're 7 points clear of Tottenham, but Tottenham has a game in hand. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty much probably going to finish 4th. But you're right. They still want to, if they win, or
they will want the insurance.
Will want the
insurance.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if they win, it's done. Tottenham, I believe, plays Manchester City, and Tottenham's not on a great run right now. They play open soccer, and I know that when City went there in the FA Cup, they pretty much dominated them, and that's when Tottenham was doing better.
I think also earlier in the year it was a 4-4 game, City and Tottenham.
Yeah. That was in that period when Manchester City was kind of up and down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, right now that's not the case.
Yeah. I was. I didn't watch the City game, but I was kind of. I play fantasy soccer also, in the EPL fantasy soccer, and I just kept seeing goal Erling Haaland, goal Erling Haaland, goal Erling. I mean, he had 4 goals in 60 minutes or something, and when he's in that form, I mean, he had 2 penalties, but in that form, he's scary.
Right. Oh, yeah. He's going to be heavily involved. You can rest assured for the rest of the season. They're not going to take any gambles there.
What are your thoughts on, as kind of we're here to the last 2-3 games, City has a game in hand against Arsenal, or on Arsenal. They're down a point. I mean, is this another Manchester City league win?
Yeah, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but yes, I just can't see them slipping up, and I feel badly for Arsenal because in some ways I feel that they deserve the title this year.
Yeah.
But again, it always comes back to the same old thing with me about the City empire being built upon 115 charges really,
Yeah.
and we've had all the furore at the bottom of the table, but yeah, I mean, really for the credibility of the league, yeah, Manchester City, one way or another, either they're guilty or they're innocent. Let's get it sorted, because if they are guilty, then that pretty much, what does that say for the legacy of Manchester City and Pep Guardiola in particular?
Sure. And I don't know how they work, but if they work like every charge is a deduction of 10 points, I mean, do they get dropped to like League 3 or something? Like, how does that work? Do they get stripped of their titles? Like, I don't even know how that would work.
I don't think that they can do it like they've done for Everton and Nottingham Forest. I don't think that they can do it. I think they would have to do it season by season.
I see.
So, I mean, because they've been called out over multiple seasons, and actually the charges brought against them are more serious than both Everton and Forest, because basically Everton and Forest overspent their limits and they admitted it. Manchester City, in essence, are being accused of cooking the books, and they aren't admitting it. So it's a lot more complicated from that perspective. And in theory, if they're found guilty, I think it would be more serious than points deductions. So I just think the whole situation's a mess from top to bottom, because they've had the rules, but they've not really had a way of implementing them.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen that clearly with Everton and Forest, because it's kind of, well, why many points deductions for this? And they spent more, or they spent more money than us. Why did we get so many points and they get so many points? And then there's appeals, and it's complicated. It's complicated. So they've had no cast iron way of making a decision on this. With Manchester City, the charges are a lot more serious. There's a lot more of them, and it's over multiple years. So what do? I mean, if they call back, well, if they go back 10 years to when they scored that last-minute winner, which is one of the iconic moments of the Premier League, you'd have to say that they're going to lose their title for that year, and it doesn't count anymore, which is kind of I think on one level it's kind of sad actually.
Yeah.
Um, but having said that, and unfortunately, I think some of what's happening in the Premier League's what's happening in this country politically, which is delay, delay, delay. And I don't know, maybe it never happens because it feels a bit that way right now. It feels like it's never going to get resolved.
And if so, just to kind of go down that road a little bit further, when you're talking about, potentially, stripping that title, the Aguero goal is the goal you're mentioning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And United, I believe, was second that year. So
that would be their title.
Okay.
And
then
that would be their title. And similarly,
the Liverpool, right?
The year that Brendan Rodgers was in charge, and that would be Liverpool's title. I mean, it's
those don't feel right. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't feel right. But at the same time, I mean, like, they're not going to demote them down to the lowest tier. I mean, that's what happened to Glasgow Rangers up in Scotland. I mean, but that's not as big money league to the same degree as the Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
If they were to try something like demoting them to the fourth tier, I think that what would happen is that would probably give a shot in an arm to a European Super League.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because
why wouldn't they do that at that point in time? Yeah, you're right.
Because I think Manchester City then would team up with Real Madrid and company and try to push that through.
Wow,
that's what I think.
Yeah.
But who knows? Who knows? I mean, UEFA has made some steps this year to make the Champions League more. Well, there's more games, aren't there? So I mean, a European Super League is going to happen. It's just how and when.
What's your thoughts on that? It's, there are two different, kind of schools of thought on it. One is, that any team in any of the leagues can, work their way up and, up to the top league and become a champion of the Premiership. I mean, we saw it with Leicester City. I mean, it's possible. And I don't follow the other leagues as much as I do the Premier League, but and then there's the thought of, well, then it kind of takes away from the spirit of the game of people being able to do that, and it's just the rich getting richer. It's an interesting conversation. When initially it came out, I was for it because I thought, wow, I mean, every week you're talking, it's like a Champions League, semifinal or final every week. But then as I kind of saw the way fans were reacting to this, I took a step back and thought, I didn't think about it from that standpoint. What are your thoughts?
The European Super League, as I say, I think it's going to happen. And I think, it's tough. It's tough for football fans because we've had the game a certain way for such a period of time. But if you go back into the history of the game, the English Football League, which was the first football league in the world, began essentially with public school boys. They were amateurs, and the idea of being paid to play football was totally alien to them. So when it kind of started to evolve, where they would bring in workers, like to work in a local factory and play for the football team, and they were paying them in essence, well, not just in essence, they were paying them directly. That was kind of shunned, and in a sense, it's kind of similar to this idea of we are where we are now, and then we're talking about a totally different entity again, which we would shun as well. But I just think that the world evolves, the world changes, and so does football. And I think intercontinental leagues, both in Europe, I think it's going to happen here in the Americas.
Mhm.
I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen. Ultimately, will there be a pyramid though? Because, certainly in England, there's a pyramid system. What people sometimes forget is the pyramid system actually hasn't been in place for the majority of the history of English football. I'm not sure exactly when it started. It might have been late 70s, but prior to that, there was no pyramid. I mean, so that was a change in itself. They also forget that the Premier League, in essence, was a breakaway, the same as the European Super League attempt from a couple of years ago. So the Premier League didn't like it, but they had done the same thing to the English Football League in the 90s. So you've got all these different things going on, and I think there's going to be changes. Will there be a pyramid when there is a European Super League? I think ultimately no, because you kind of hinted at it when you said the rich get richer. And that's what's going to determine the whole thing is the money. And so you kind of have this situation where there was a vote last week over basically some kind of salary cap in English football.
Yeah.
And, like the Manchester clubs aren't in favour of it, needless to say. Although I'm hearing from other people is it's not really going to make much difference anyway. But whether it does or it doesn't, the richer clubs want to keep making money, and they want to grow their brand, because it's not a football club sadly anymore; it's a brand,
Right.
And it's just how it is. And whether the traditional football fan likes it or not, this is our world. And I know, I mean, I don't go to the games anymore, but the last game that I went to at Anfield was a couple of years back, and it's a totally different experience. It's a totally different experience from when I was growing up in so many different ways. I mean, like the facilities are so much better. I mean, like the old days of just going and getting a pie and a cup of tea are over. I mean, it's like lots of little restaurants, if you will, and different choices of food. People are from all over the world. I mean, where I was sitting, there weren't many local people. They were from everywhere. And that's, that's what football is now. And it's tough for many to accept, but it's what it is.
Yeah, it was interesting when you were talking about the Manchester City charges, and I thought immediately about that conversation they were talking about, the salary cap that you just brought up, and I don't know how things are so different in European soccer leagues versus, say, like American professional leagues, because the American professional leagues just seem like there's no real room for error. It's like everything is crystal clear as far as this is what you can and can't do, and we'll find out if you do something, because it just seems like in Europe there's always ways to game the system.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not familiar with the history of American sports, but the salary cap is the same for all teams, is it?
It depends on the league. Like, for example, in the NBA, the basketball league here, they have a salary cap of, I want to say like 172 million. But if you go over that, then they call them, I think they have two, what they call aprons, which at that point you are paying a luxury tax, which gets then distributed to the other teams. So you can spend 300 million if you want, but your luxury tax might be, say, 80, 90 million. I'm just making up numbers. I don't really know the exact figures. And that would get redistributed to the other teams. So, and then football is a hard salary cap, but they have ways of leveraging like bonuses and restructuring contracts to kind of fit in that salary gap. But with the idea of financial fair play makes sense. And in essence, it is kind of a salary cap. Like, you can't spend more than you make. But I just don't know if Manchester City is just smarter than everybody, where they cook the books in a way that is under, the legal law. But the fact that they can't like dole out punishments right away, but Nottingham Forest and Everton get punished immediately, it just, like, were they not as smart as Manchester City, or were they more clear with the league about what happened, or it's just odd.
Well, one of the ironies that I hear from Manchester City fans is that they're the best run club. So does that mean that they're the best run in terms of hiding their underhand dealings?
Discretions?
So I think there's a little bit of irony there, but no. Look, the net result is I think that Manchester City are going to claim the title again for the fourth successive year, and having followed the game throughout my life, I mean, like, there was a period when Liverpool was the dominant team, Manchester United was the dominant team. Was money as much of a factor? Possibly more in the Man United era, because the game was starting to change in the Premier League and what have you. But having said that, Manchester United were a human team, as it were.
Yeah, they brought up a lot of guys from their youth academy. The 1992 youth academy was incredible.
Yeah. They could get hammered one week, and it was tough being a Liverpool fan in that era because they were our biggest rivals. But you couldn't deny that they played good attacking football. It was exciting to watch. As I say, some days they could get hammered. There was jeopardy. Manchester City have built an empire where really there's no jeopardy anymore. I mean, most of the games that they play, it's such a foregone conclusion that, for me, it's taken something out of the game. Did they play good football? Yes, but if there's not opposition, I mean, well, they had a game with Chelsea this year, which was 4-4, and then I think you mentioned the Tottenham game, but over the years, those games are few and far between. But if you think of the Jurgen Klopp era, there's games like that all over the place, and Liverpool have won quite a lot of them, but they've also lost a few as well. So that, to me, is kind of normal football, in as much as you can take the game to the opposition, and sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. I just feel that whatever Manchester City has done, if they'd have done it legally, then I suppose that you'd have to begrudgingly tip your hat to them. But the feeling is, there's been other things going on, and they've cooked the books and what have you. So I'd love just to see it sorted one way or another. Will it ever be? You can't help but feel it at this moment in time.
I just want to kind of have a quick talk about the European soccer, the Super League. You had mentioned that there might not be a pyramid system in there. However, I think if they were smart, they would do that, because there's always great teams kind of popping out of nowhere, especially if you're going to pull, say the top 20 teams in European football. There are going to be other teams that have great players that are going to pop up and play very well. But having, say like a 2-team relegation versus 3-team or something like that would make the competition that much more fierce, like it is here in Europe, all over the place, right? I mean, not only do we watch the top of the table, we watch the bottom, because those games are just as exciting. People fighting to stay in their league versus, and teams fighting to win the league. But having the fact that it would be like a closed system, It's odd.
Well, right, but I I would agree with you. I think that I would prefer that system, but I'm just looking at it and saying, well, basically the big money teams though they want to protect their interests, and so um, I mean, obviously the way that sport evolved in this country is very very different to England and to Europe and what
Mhm.
have you. But basically, you can be the worst team in the NFL, but you're still there and you can still kind of rebuild and you're still generating a lot of money. And so your interests are protected. The big money clubs want to protect their interests. So if they have a closed shop and there's, I don't know how many teams, 20, 24, whatever, then that suits them. That suits them. They don't want to lose their place,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
Anyway, so I don't think it's going to happen, but well, soon. I think it'll happen, but I don't think it'll happen soon. And obviously, they have kind of extended the number of games in the Champions League next season, and I think that this is UEFA's attempt to try to head things off at the pass, as it were, stop a breakaway league. And I think it's probably going to boil down to will will the powers that be, UEFA, FIFA, whoever, whether they can control the situation in football or whether there will be a breakaway.
yeah. Well, coming back to Liverpool and their next game against Villa, do you think that the same team gets rolled out at Villa?
Um, well, unless there's injuries or anything, I don't know whether Jota is on the cusp of coming back again. Um, my gut feeling is possibly would he put Canate in for say Kwanzaa? I don't know. Um, in the midfield, I don't see why he would change the midfield. Um, would he put Nunes in for somebody because because they're playing away? I don't. I mean, Diaz has been pretty much on form, even though he's not been scoring. Gakpo's showing well. I don't think he's going to drop Salah for the Villa game. So I'd have thought the midfield and the forward should stay the same. The only change I could see him making is Kwanzaa, really.
Yeah, I agree. The Elliott and Gakpo have earned those spots. If I mean, Luis Diaz,
Right.
like you said, has been playing very well, even through the team's rut. But if anybody, maybe to have him come in as a impact sub, he's the only. I mean, I would say 10% chance that maybe you replace him with Nunez, but just to get Nunez some game time. But because we're locked in third place now, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. We're third. I mean, there's a mathematical chance we can win if their disaster happens with City and Arsenal. But realistically, we're going to be locked in third place.
Right. So yeah, it'll be an interesting game against Villa. I think it'll be competitive. I think it'll be open and an exciting game with hopefully a Liverpool win.
Can't wait. Well, Coach, thank you so much again for your insight. And Liverpool fans, thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time. Take care, everybody.